Imagine waking up tomorrow and feeling absolutely nothing. No excitement, no inspiration, no sudden burst of energy telling you today is the day your life will change. Would you still get out of bed? Would you still train? Would you still build your business, study your craft, keep your promises, even when every emotion inside you whispers, "Not today"? Most people wouldn't, not because they're incapable, but because they've been taught to wait. Wait until they feel motivated. Wait until the timing feels perfect. Wait until confidence arrives. Wait until success seems guaranteed. And while they're waiting, their lives remain exactly where they are. Motivation has become one of the most celebrated ideas of the modern world. Millions of people begin each morning searching for it. They watch another inspiring video, read another quote, listen to another speech. For a brief moment, they feel unstoppable. Then tomorrow comes. The excitement fades. Reality returns, and nothing changes, because motivation is a feeling, and feelings were never designed to last. History tells a very different story. The people we remember, the empires that endured, the leaders who changed civilizations, did not build their greatness on emotion. They built it on something far less glamorous, yet infinitely more powerful: discipline. Consider the Roman legionnaire. He did not wake each morning wondering whether he felt inspired to train. The farmer who fed an empire, the craftsman who spent decades perfecting a single skill, the philosopher who pursued truth despite hardship, none of them waited for motivation. They understood something that modern society has almost forgotten. Freedom is not born from doing what you feel like doing. It is born from doing what must be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Somewhere along the way, we confused emotion with commitment. We began believing that successful people simply feel different, that they wake up every morning energized, focused, ready to conquer the world. But if you study history carefully, you discover a surprising truth. The difference between ordinary people and extraordinary people is rarely motivation. It is consistency, and consistency is impossible without discipline. Because discipline asks a question motivation never can. Will you continue, even when nobody is watching, even when progress is invisible, even when the reward feels impossibly far away? That question has separated leaders from followers, builders from dreamers, and masters from amateurs for thousands of years. Today, we'll explore why discipline has always defeated motivation, what ancient civilizations understood about self-mastery, why modern psychology confirms their wisdom, and how you can build a level of discipline that remains long after motivation disappears. Every generation has believed it discovered the secret to success. Today, that secret is called motivation. It fills bookstores, dominates social media, headlines podcasts, and powers an endless stream of inspirational speeches. Everywhere you look, someone is promising to help you stay motivated. But there's one problem. Motivation was never meant to carry the weight we've placed upon it. Think about the last time you felt deeply inspired. Maybe it was after watching a powerful documentary, listening to an unforgettable speech, or reading a book that made you believe your life was about to change. For a moment, everything seemed possible. You promised yourself that tomorrow would be different. You planned your new routine. You imagined the person you were about to become. Then, morning arrived. The alarm rang. The room was cold. Your bed felt warm. Suddenly, the future you imagined the night before didn't seem quite as convincing. That isn't failure. It's human nature. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions were designed to change. They rise, they fall, just like the weather. No one expects the sun to shine every single day, yet millions of people expect themselves to wake up every morning overflowing with motivation. And when that feeling disappears, they assume something is wrong with them. But history suggests something very different. Long before neuroscience, long before psychology became a science, ancient philosophers had already recognized a simple truth: a person ruled by emotion can never truly rule their own life. The Stoics understood this better than almost anyone. They never believed courage meant feeling fearless. They believed courage meant acting despite fear. They never believed discipline required enthusiasm. They believed discipline began precisely where enthusiasm ended, because the moments that shape your future rarely arrive when you feel your strongest. They arrive when you're tired, distracted, discouraged, and tempted to quit. That's the moment that determines everything. Modern psychology now confirms what ancient wisdom observed centuries ago. Your brain is constantly searching for efficiency. It wants to conserve energy, avoid discomfort, seek immediate rewards. From an evolutionary perspective, that instinct once kept our ancestors alive. But in today's world, the same instinct quietly works against us. Every meaningful goal demands something the brain naturally resists: patience, repetition, delayed gratification, consistent effort. That's why waiting to feel motivated is such a dangerous strategy. You're asking your emotions to defeat millions of years of biological programming, and emotions almost always lose. Look around at the modern world. Food arrives in minutes. Entertainment begins with a single tap. Answers appear instantly. Every convenience teaches the same silent lesson: you shouldn't have to wait. But mastery has never followed that rule. The strongest bodies, the sharpest minds, the greatest fortunes, the most respected leaders were all built through thousands of ordinary days. Days when nothing felt exciting. Days when progress was invisible. Days when quitting would have been easier. And that's where the great divide begins. Ordinary people ask, how do I stay motivated? Extraordinary people ask, how do I keep moving when motivation disappears? The answer to that question has shaped every great civilization in history, and nowhere is it more visible than in the rise of one of the greatest empires the world has ever known. More than 2,000 years ago, as the first light of dawn stretched across the Roman countryside, thousands of soldiers were already awake. There were no motivational speeches, no cheering crowds, no promises of glory, only routine. Every morning, the same ritual, the same training, the same discipline. A young recruit would spend hours repeating the exact movements he had practiced the day before: swing, block, step, again, again, again. Not because it was exciting, but because one day, his life would depend on it. The Roman army understood something that many people today have forgotten. In moments of pressure, you do not rise to your expectations. You fall to the level of your training. On the battlefield, there is no time to search for confidence, no opportunity to wait until you feel ready. Every decision happens in seconds, and only discipline remains. This is one of the reasons Rome built one of the greatest empires in history. It wasn't because every soldier was stronger, or smarter, or naturally fearless. It was because discipline transformed ordinary men into an extraordinary force. While other armies relied on bursts of courage, Rome relied on consistency. Every march, every camp, every formation, every battle followed systems that had been practiced countless times before. They knew that emotions are unpredictable. Systems are not. And this lesson wasn't unique to Rome. Across the world, the greatest civilizations reached the same conclusion. In ancient Japan, samurai practiced their swordsmanship long after mastering the basics, not because they expected battle every day, but because discipline demanded preparation before necessity. In ancient Greece, Spartan warriors trained from childhood. They didn't wait for war to build strength. They built strength so they would be ready when war arrived. Different cultures, different centuries, different philosophies, yet they all arrived at the same truth. Excellence is never accidental. It is repeated, again and again, until discipline becomes identity. Contrast that with today's world. We celebrate intensity. We admire sudden transformations. We look for shortcuts, productivity hacks, overnight success. But history rarely remembers the people who started with passion. It remembers the people who continued after passion disappeared. Because greatness is almost never built in extraordinary moments. It is built in ordinary mornings, the mornings when no one is watching, the mornings when progress feels invisible, the mornings when quitting seems reasonable. Those quiet decisions, repeated over months and years, eventually become the foundation of remarkable lives. This raises an important question. If discipline has always been the foundation of greatness, why do so many people struggle to develop it today? The answer isn't found on the battlefield. It's found inside the human brain. If discipline has shaped the greatest civilizations in history, why does it feel so difficult today? The answer isn't a lack of intelligence. It isn't laziness, and it certainly isn't because you're incapable. The real answer lies inside your own mind. Every second, Your brain is making thousands of decisions. Most of them happen without you even noticing. It constantly asks one simple question: how can I conserve energy? This instinct wasn't a mistake. It was survival. Thousands of years ago, food was uncertain. Winter was unforgiving. Every unnecessary movement wasted precious energy. So the human brain evolved to avoid effort whenever possible. That instinct once kept our ancestors alive, but the world has changed, while our brains have not. Today, food is delivered to our doors. Entertainment begins with a single touch. Endless distractions compete for every second of our attention, and every convenience whispers the same message: choose what's easy. At first, it feels harmless. Skip today's workout. Delay tomorrow's project. Sleep a little longer. Check your phone one more time. After all, it's only one decision. But discipline is rarely destroyed by one decision. It disappears through hundreds of tiny compromises. Each one seems insignificant, yet together, they quietly shape your identity. Because every action casts a vote. When you keep a promise to yourself, you cast a vote for becoming someone reliable. When you break that promise, you cast a vote for becoming someone who quits. Your future isn't built by one extraordinary moment. It's built by the habits you repeat when no one is watching. Neuroscientists have discovered something remarkable. The brain is always searching for rewards. Every time you receive an instant pleasure, whether it's scrolling endlessly, watching another short video, or choosing comfort over effort, your brain learns to crave the easiest path. The more often you repeat that pattern, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, choosing comfort no longer feels like a decision. It becomes your default. This is why discipline can feel so exhausting in the beginning. You're not simply changing your schedule. You're challenging years, sometimes decades, of deeply ingrained patterns. And your brain will resist, not because it wants you to fail, but because it prefers what is familiar. Yet here's the extraordinary part. The same brain that learns bad habits can also learn powerful ones. Every time you choose action over excuses, focus over distraction, or long-term purpose over immediate comfort, you're strengthening new neural pathways. At first, discipline feels like a battle. Then, it becomes a habit. Eventually, it becomes part of who you are. The people we admire aren't born with stronger minds. They simply train their minds differently. They understand a truth that most people overlook. Freedom doesn't come from following every impulse. It comes from mastering them. And once you understand that, another question naturally emerges. If our brains are wired to seek comfort, why has modern society made comfort its greatest obsession? Because comfort has become one of the most profitable products ever created. Never before in human history has life been this convenient. With a single tap, food arrives at your door. Entertainment never ends. Answers appear in seconds, and almost every discomfort can be avoided. At first, this sounds like progress, and in many ways, it is. Technology has improved lives, expanded knowledge, connected billions of people. But every invention carries an unintended consequence. The easier life becomes, the fewer opportunities we have to practice patience, to practice restraint, to practice discipline. Without realizing it, we begin expecting life to move at the speed of our screens. We refresh, we scroll, we skip, we consume, and slowly, waiting starts to feel unbearable. Yet the most valuable things in life have never been instant. Trust takes years. Wisdom takes experience. Physical strength takes countless repetitions. Financial freedom requires years of disciplined decisions. Character is built one choice at a time. None of these rewards can be rushed, yet modern culture constantly celebrates the opposite. Overnight success, viral fame, quick results, instant transformation. We admire the finished masterpiece, but rarely notice the thousands of ordinary days that created it. We see the champion lifting the trophy. We don't see the mornings they trained in silence. We see the successful entrepreneur. We don't see the years of uncertainty behind every achievement. The process is invisible. Only the result becomes famous. And that creates a dangerous illusion. It convinces people that success happens suddenly, when in reality, it happens gradually. one disciplined decision after another. This is why so many people feel trapped. They compare their beginning to someone else's decade of consistent effort. Then they become discouraged. They quit. Not because they lacked potential, but because they expected progress to be immediate. Ancient philosophers warned against this long before smartphones existed. They believed that a person who constantly chased pleasure would eventually become controlled by it. Every comfort accepted without awareness makes the next discomfort feel even greater, and that's how discipline quietly disappears. Not through one dramatic failure, but through 1,000 comfortable choices, a little less effort, a little more distraction, a little more procrastination, until one day, you wake up wondering where the years went. The greatest danger of comfort isn't that it feels bad, it's that it feels good. It asks for nothing today, while quietly taking everything from tomorrow: time, potential, confidence, opportunity, piece by piece. But history offers hope. Every great leader, every master craftsman, every respected thinker faced the same temptation. The difference wasn't that they never desired comfort. It was that they refused to let comfort become their master. They understood a truth that still holds today. A comfortable life is not the same as a meaningful life. And the people who accomplish extraordinary things learn to choose purpose, even when comfort is calling. Which raises the most important question of all. If discipline isn't something you're born with, how do the most successful people build it? Day after day, year after year, history has always admired extraordinary people: great generals, brilliant philosophers, master craftsmen, visionary leaders. We often look at their achievements and assume they possessed something the rest of us never could: greater intelligence, greater talent, greater confidence. But if you study their lives closely, a different pattern begins to appear. They did not rely on extraordinary moments. They mastered ordinary ones. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the Roman Empire, never believed that leadership began with commanding others. He believed it began with commanding himself. Every morning, before facing political conflict, military crises, and endless responsibility, he reminded himself of a simple truth: the only mind he could truly control was his own. That idea has survived for nearly 2,000 years because it remains true. Discipline is not about controlling the world. It is about controlling your response to the world. Powerful people understand something that most people overlook. They remove unnecessary decisions. Think about it. Every decision consumes mental energy. Should I work today or tomorrow? Should I exercise or skip it? Should I save money or spend it? When every action becomes a debate, consistency becomes impossible. But disciplined people don't negotiate with their goals every morning. They create routines, and then they trust those routines. The decision is made once, so they don't have to make it again. This is why elite athletes train, even on days when their bodies feel heavy. It's why successful entrepreneurs continue building, even when progress is invisible. It's why accomplished musicians practice scales long after they have mastered the basics. They understand that excellence is never maintained by emotion. It is maintained by repetition. The world celebrates dramatic breakthroughs, but real transformation is usually quiet. It happens when nobody is watching. One early morning, one extra page read, one difficult conversation, one promise kept. These moments rarely seem important on their own, yet over months and years, they become impossible to ignore. Imagine a stonemason standing before an enormous block of granite. He strikes it once, nothing happens. Twice, still nothing. 50 times, 100 times. To an observer, it appears as though his effort is accomplishing nothing. Then, on the next strike, the stone finally splits apart. Was it the final strike that broke the rock? Or was it every strike that came before it? Discipline works the same way. Results often remain invisible, until suddenly, they become undeniable. Most people quit because they mistake invisible progress for no progress. They expect success to announce itself immediately. But nature has never worked that way. A tree spends years strengthening its roots before it reaches toward the sky. A river carves through solid rock, not because of force, but because of relentless consistency, and human greatness follows the same principle. The strongest character, the sharpest mind, the greatest achievements are rarely created by one extraordinary effort. They are created by thousands of ordinary decisions, repeated with extraordinary consistency. That is the quiet power of discipline. It doesn't promise quick victories, it promises lasting transformation. But knowing this is only the beginning. The real question is, how do you build this kind of discipline in your own life? Not for a week, not for a month, but for years. By now, one thing should be clear. Discipline is not a personality trait. It is not something reserved for soldiers, entrepreneurs, or world leaders. It is a skill, and like every skill, it can be trained. The question is not, how do I become more disciplined overnight? The real question is, what kind of person do I become through my daily choices? Because every choice, no matter how small, is shaping someone. The version of you that exists 1 year from now is being created today, one decision at a time. So where do you begin? Surprisingly, not with giant goals, but with tiny promises, promises so small that breaking them would feel almost ridiculous. Read 1 page, walk for 10 minutes, save a small amount, wake up when your alarm rings. These actions may seem insignificant, but their true value isn't in what they accomplish. Their value lies in what they teach your mind. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen trust in your own character. And trust is the foundation of discipline. Think of a bridge. It isn't held together by one massive beam. It's supported by thousands of smaller pieces, working together. Character is built the same way. One honest decision, one difficult conversation, one workout completed, one distraction resisted. Alone, they seem ordinary. Together, they create someone capable of extraordinary things. The second principle is to make discipline easier than excuses. Don't rely on willpower. Design your environment. If you want to read, leave the book where you'll see it. If you want to exercise, prepare everything the night before. If you want fewer distractions, remove them before they have a chance to tempt you. Powerful people understand that environment often defeats intention. They don't make success harder. They make failure less convenient. The third principle is to stop chasing perfection. Perfection is fragile. Discipline is resilient. Miss one day, begin again tomorrow. Make one mistake. Learn from it. The goal isn't to build a flawless life. The goal is to become someone who always returns to the path, because every great journey includes moments of failure. What separates remarkable people isn't that they never fall, it's that they refuse to stay down. And finally, remember this: discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in action. Every time you choose what is meaningful over what is merely comfortable, you send yourself a powerful message. My future matters more than my current mood. That single belief, repeated day after day, quietly transforms everything. Your habits, your confidence, your relationships, your career, even the way you see yourself. Years from now, people may look at your success and call it talent. They may call it luck. They may say, you were different. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't one extraordinary moment. It was thousands of ordinary moments where you chose discipline, even when no one was watching, even when it was difficult, even when motivation had disappeared. And that is how great lives are built. One disciplined choice at a time. But before we end, there is one final lesson, a lesson that every great civilization, every timeless philosopher, and every remarkable life has quietly been teaching us all along. Imagine yourself, 10 years from now, standing face to face with the person you could have become. One version of you stands with quiet confidence, every promise kept, every difficult decision honored, every sacrifice transformed into strength. The other carries a different story, a story filled with good intentions, opportunities postponed, and dreams that never survived the comfort of tomorrow. The distance between those two lives is not talent, it is not intelligence, It is not luck. It is the choices made on ordinary days. The mornings when no one was watching. The evenings when quitting seemed reasonable. The moments when comfort offered an easier path. History remembers emperors, philosophers, builders, and visionaries. But long before history remembered them, they first learned to master themselves. They understood a truth that never grows old. A person who cannot govern their own actions can never truly govern their future. Your greatest battle will never be against another person. It will be against the voice inside your own mind. The voice that says, tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll start. Tomorrow I'll change. Tomorrow I'll become the person I want to be. But history has never been written by tomorrow. It has always been written by people who chose today. Every disciplined action, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every promise you keep strengthens your character. Every excuse you refuse weakens the chains that have held you back. One day, you'll look back on this chapter of your life. You won't remember how motivated you felt. You won't remember the perfect conditions you were waiting for. You'll remember the day you stopped negotiating with your potential. The day action became louder than excuses. The day discipline stopped being something you admired and became something you lived. Because in the end, success isn't built in extraordinary moments. It's built in ordinary moments, repeated with extraordinary consistency. Your future is watching. Your character is being written. The next decision is yours. Comfort whispers, duty calls, character decides.